Sneak
What's up,
attack.
man? There you
What's
go. There
what's
you go.
going on? How are we
I'm
doing?
doing great. Finally, we get to do this. I'm excited.
Finally,
I know
finally.
it's been talked about for way too long.
It certainly has. What has it
Yeah,
been like 9, 10 months?
something like that. Something like that.
We're talking about this like
Absolutely.
last October, like November, December, October. Yeah, yeah.
Probably around that time. Yeah. I said, let me get some time. And then I was like, well, before my exam. And of course, I'm like recording this with less than a month to go before my exam. So, go figure.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on. We had to do it. We had to
No, of
do it.
course. Of course. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to
So,
do this.
quick little introduction. Dr. Nader Salib out in California, surgical gourmet, coming on here. The new sommelier coming up in about a month or so, right?
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Oral surgeon, of course. Let's get back
Of
to the
course.
roots. How was the
Absolutely.
day?
It was hectic. Monday, emergency, implants, infections, calling referrals, speaking to referrals, just, typical Monday,
Oh
typical
man,
manic Monday. Yeah, for sure. But it's fun, you know? It's part of the routine.
it's
You
a lot.
work with a group of people and the people you really like and you just, it makes it easier. When I first got out, I'm sure we'll get into all of this, but when I first got out, it was like, I'm just going to work with everyone. And a really, really astute dentist up in Beverly Hills said, that's not a really good strategy. You want to try to work with everyone for the first couple years, and then you'll see who you like and who you don't. And the ones you don't like, you won't want to work with again. And of course, I was so arrogant, just finishing residency. I was like, I'm God of oral surgery. Everyone's going to want to work with me, and I'm going to want to work with everyone.
Right, right.
And very, very quickly you realize like, no, 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 yes, yes, no. And, you find a group of people you really like gel with and you're good
Right.
and you're good for sure.
All right. Well, awesome. Okay. So, but now you're starting to gel. It's going smooth now. I mean, you haven't been out. It's been more than a couple of years. So you've kind of
Oh, it's been
honed
a
into
while. Yeah,
you've kind of honed into who you do like to work with, who you don't like to work. Do you still get any referrals
absolutely.
from the outsiders?
So it's funny you ask, if we get a random referral from like, I mean, you probably are aware you grade your referrals, A, B, C, D, F, and if we get an F referral who sends to us, the question is always like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is it like a really
Yeah.
bad infection? Fine, I'll help the patient out. But if it's just like, get me out of a mess, or see a patient, we'll just let them know our next available appointment's in a month and a half. We're happy to see them in 6 weeks and they get the message. Yeah,
I see.
right,
Yeah. Kind of like a you
right.
can't sit with us kind of situation, but
Absolutely.
yeah, make it a
Absolutely.
waiting line. Huh. No, I mean, it makes
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
And they get it. But the funny thing that I've noticed, and you'll hear this from other specialists as well, the personality of the dentist carries through in the personality of the patients. And what I mean by that is like my dentists who are really chill, their patients are really chill. The
Hmm.
ones who are like organized, on time, no problem. The ones who are a hot mess, their patients are a hot mess as well. And
Interesting.
it's really, really interesting. I have this talk with an endodontist I run a study club with. So we just kind of know, like, if you meet a general dentist and you just already it's not going to work,
Hmm.
their patients are going to be the same personality. Save yourself the hassle.
That's
Really.
striking. That's really
But it makes sense though. As an
oh,
endodontist or an oral
yeah.
surgeon, you're going to see a patient once, twice, be done. But if you're a patient and you see a general dentist, you see them over and over and over again. That person wants to connect with that general dentist on a personality level. So just by figuring out the personality of the general dentist, you kind of have already filtered out what kind of patients you're going to get.
Right. Right. I got a question for you then. That being said,
Ask, yeah.
does it kind of also correlate or not with insurance plans versus PPO, fee for service? Is there a correlation with that or completely no?
No, no, that's its own set of,
Yeah.
it's its own circus and its own set, but
Gotcha. Gotcha.
personality wise of the general dentist, chances are the personality of the patients will carry through.
Interesting. Huh.
That's the
Right.
best advice I can give you going into private practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And it doesn't make sense. I'm sure I'll see more of that as we go out. Cause I mean, you remember residency. It's like you take what you can get, whoever walks in that door, and then it's different between the city hospital, the private hospital, the dental school,
Oh, of course.
the
Of
VA,
course. Of
the VA,
course.
so
It's hard to kill a vet. So you're okay. You're totally fine. So I actually did my intern year at Bellevue and they would always yell at us, find cases. And you're like, what does that mean? Find cases. And they're like, this clinic is a treasure trove. You're like, what does that mean? You're like, there's 70 people who are going to come in with a tooth that needs to be removed. Find the guy with cancer that doesn't know he has cancer, or find some guy who's got floppy ears and now you have an autoplasty on the case for Friday morning, like
Actually,
and you're like, there
that's
you go.
actually, yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Right? It's the city hospital, but like you go to the university hospital, you deal with humans. You go to the city hospital and you're like, Jesus, is anyone like a human here? And the vets, my God, like half of them have PTSD, had Agent Orange dumped on them, and
Like
like
90% of
just go,
PTSD. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. It was nuts. It was nuts. I mean, I've got my own VA stories where like
I'm sure.
some guy had a flashback in the middle of a procedure, and he was in Vietnam, and he was captured and he was tortured, and of course oral surgery instruments. What do we have? And I'm like reaching for my periosteal, and the guy thinks I'm about to like torture him, and he gets up
No.
and like grabs my hand, and my assistant's grabbing his hand, and he's yelling at me and like Vietnam. I'm like,
I don't even know that.
yeah, not me. I'm not in this. I'm not in this at all. But yeah, you definitely in New York get a very broad view between the VA, Bellevue, and
The
the
one thing
hospital
I would say
and
about
the
the
dental
VA,
school as
though,
well.
yes,
Yeah,
and the dental school for sure, for
sure,
sure. But the cool thing about the
sure.
VA is they all have a ton of bone. So one, that's where we place most of our implants, and we
Yeah,
got bone to put them in. So
absolutely,
and they need it.
absolutely,
That number three,
absolutely.
they need them. So
There you go.
that's my favorite rotation. I'll tell you right now. The big cases in the OR are great, and it's good for residency and experience. But to actually get a closer to what you're going to be doing in the real life out in private practice, and I mean, you're a testament to it, right? It's like the VA. We don't get implants at the dental school anymore, and I don't want to name institutions. I'll click that earlier, but just because they've sometimes given me a lot. They've given me a lot of hard stuff. But at the dental school, all the implants goes to perio. Have you
For
seen
sure.
any of that?
The issue with that I have is that we as a specialty have failed ourselves.
Oh, yep. Mm-hmm.
And I have no problem saying that. I've said it to AMIS members. I've said it in residency over and over and over again that as oral and maxillofacial surgeons, we can do really amazing. We do really some of the most complex, technique sensitive work in all of dentistry and medicine. And while we're busy in the OR, the perio programs have stayed at the dental school. And again, without naming institutions, I've seen people just tell dental students, the oral surgeon doesn't care. He's too busy fixing someone's face. But we're here and we care. And it's like, that's such bullshit. And you hear they can't
Not right.
suture. They can't suture. They're hacks. You know what? I had a guy whose ear was nearly falling off and I sutured his ear back successfully. You show me the periodontist who's done similar. We have done the disservice to ourselves and the position that we are in.
School.
And the position that we are in is because of ourselves. Oral surgery clinics within dental schools consistently are some of the most highly productive, grossing clinics in all of dental schools.
Mm-hmm.
They just are. When I go at SC and I'm like watching the kids, every kid will have at least 3 patients in one afternoon. Compare that with doing restorative work where you can do what? 1 filling in the morning and like maybe a crown prep in the afternoon. That's really inefficient. And if you just look at the bottom line in numbers, the oral surgery programs consistently outproduce every other clinic. And I don't know why we don't just put our foot down and demand more respect and to do more work. We're only asking to do more, right? It's very noble. It's very altruistic. We're asking to do more work. We're asking to do more work and do it well. And to do it
faster. That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. The one thing that I noticed as far as the grossing is that now I think the most ROI in a dental procedure, just at large, would be the dental implant, right? I mean, how many can you slam in 20, 30 minutes? You know what I mean? Wisdom teeth, 20, 30 minutes. There's still only roughly 4, at the maximum. Generally, sometimes there's more, right? Generally. But the thing is that now when you see these perio programs, they've, in the last, 10 to 15 years, they've tripled in size. At our dental school, we only have 2 oral surgery chairs. They have the international oral surgery based, of course, but they're not really placing many implants. And then we're doing only so much, but we only have 1 to 2 residents at the dental school at once. Perio's got 6, 8, 12 at some institutions.
Absolutely.
So now we're seeing this really lopsidedness Plus, the periodontists at some of these dental schools are paying to be there. You have to pay the oral surgery resident. So that's probably a switch in the money going into the institution versus coming out. I don't know. I've been trying to put the pieces together to this theory, but
I think it's not
yeah,
so much that, it's a failure of
yeah.
leadership starting at the chairman position. And again, we're not naming institutions. We're not going to say anything. But when I had started off my residency, it was very clear. Here's the chart. If the chart ends in an odd number, it goes to oral surgery. If it ends in an even number, it goes to perio. That was it. Completely blind. And then suddenly an international oral surgery program pops up and you're like, wait a minute, what are these guys doing here? Are they here to like, what's happening? Are they taking my cases? No. Okay, fine. And then slowly it just, you know what? You've got the hospital, you make up your cases there. I have to say, sadly, the majority of what I learned about dental implantology was not in residency.
Where was it?
It just, what?
Where was it? Where'd it end up being?
Going to CE courses.
Yeah.
Reading books, social media. Social media was a huge one, So I finished in 2010 and I had enough extra time. Peter Moy had come over to our residency and had given a talk. And at the end, he was like, hey, just throw it out there. If anyone wants to come and spend a month in LA, let me know. And he just said it, not knowing that I was from LA and I had like an extra month. So so the chairman was like, oh, thank you, Peter. So gracious. Blah, blah, blah. And so I rose my hands. So I had to do it in front of everyone.
Yes. Can we make it happen?
Have to.
That's so smart.
You got to put them on the spot, raise my hands. Yes, Nader. And I said, since I have extra time and I get like an elective, I would love to go to LA and take you up on the offer. And he had to say yes, because I had asked in front of everybody. So the best part was my cousin was at UCLA. So I was living like, not student housing. He was living in a high rise on Wilshire. And I was hanging out with these UCLA kids in June. They were going through finals and the Lakers were in like the championship. So I was partying with like UCLA kids. It was amazing. They would cram for their finals one night. I would cram with them, study everything about implantology. They would take their finals. Next day, Laker championship game. We would all party together. Next day, study. Next day, it was like I was reliving my college life, but with like, but knowing what to do because you have like, you have the experience, so you can go back and do it correctly.
Yeah.
Oh,
wait a minute. That is a tremendous story because one, you put the program on the spot. You were able to get to it.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, there is nothing more satisfying than putting your chairman on the spot. Absolutely nothing more satisfying.
Also, let me just clear up. I was referring to the dental school at Stony Brook where I went to dental school. I was not referring to anywhere. I want to.
No problem. No problem.
On the record here. But wait, and then you went to UC. You went out back to LA. You were doing
back to LA
by day and party by night. This is the dream.
And it was funny because like back when I was in college, like we would just study on caffeine. Then you're at UCLA. And everyone's on Adderall. So it's like, this night we're on Adderall. The next night we're smoking weed. Next night it's Adderall. And you're like, wow, dude, college life has like really changed in the past 15 years. But the Lakers won. So that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Oh, no.
Absolutely.
Kobe was still around then.
Absolutely.
Right?
R.I.P.
Kobe. R.I.P.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that really put a damper on that. I'm sorry. I had to give a shout out to Kobe, though. One of the greats,
Absolutely. But I will tell you, my chairman was from Boston, huge Celtics fan. And so we have to do a Monday clinic, like everyone meets together in like the Monday meeting and go over all your cases for the week, present your old cases. What did you do? Present your cases that are coming up. What's your surgical approach? Blah, blah, blah. So, they were all giving me help. My co-resident was from Boston. My chairman's from Boston, talking all this. And the Lakers won, and it was my time to present. It was awesome. So normally, first slide on your PowerPoint is the patient's name and a photo of them, right? And just talking. So every photo was like a photo of a Laker. So if I had like some white prisoner, it was Paul Gasol, and if I had like some black dude, it was Ron Artest from prison. It was just like on and on. It was literally like every Laker. Oh, it was awesome. It was so awesome. No one can say anything to me. I was on cloud 9 at the podium, essentially 2 middle fingers up. Lakers won, baby. That's it.
You stuck it to him.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Let's open up one of the bottles. I'm gonna let you lead the way. I'm gonna let you lead the way here, and then
we're gonna do the full flight.
Yeah, well, I just opened up all 4 with you right now.
As do I. So we'll show.
And then as we taste, let's go. Yeah. If you can aim the camera down a little bit, let's make sure we get them in there because that's such a beautiful setup.
Yeah, so what we
Yeah.
wanted to do was help the residents drink better by getting good quality wines at an affordable price. Because, listen, you're a resident in New York City, times are tough, everything's expensive. So we have 4 wines that I thought everyone would probably enjoy. We went red because your preference was for red.
That's right.
First one we have is a Malbec from Argentina. Then we have a Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile. We have a Merlot from Italy, a Super Tuscan. And lastly, we have a Rioja from Spain. And so I poured my 4 glasses. They are breathing. And let's start with the Malbec, if that's okay with you.
I'm down. You just
Right.
pour. I didn't pour them yet.
No, it's okay. Take your time.
So while I'm pouring these up, let's go back to the roots. Let's start with just go through the show. Let's go through. Where'd you go to undergrad? You mentioned Egyptian background. You have light eyes, though. Is there any other combinations in there?
No, my parents took the me and 23andMe. They are 99 and 99%, like 99 and change, both of them.
Awesome.
No, dude, this is like son of a pharaoh. That's me.
It's got to be you. That's got to be you, right?
That's it. That's it. If you ever wondered what a pharaoh looked like,
I'm sure there's going to be like some technology. I mean, they're getting close to it with the artificial intelligence, but I bet they're going to be able to take like a little bit of DNA and then just reconstruct like the pharaohs and how they looked and how they see.
we can finally ask them, how'd you build the pyramids, right?
Right, and find out.
Right.
Hey, why did you come down to Amos? What happened?
So it's my 10-year anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, how'd that go?
Well, I'm still married.
So it's a good anniversary.
It was a great anniversary when you're still married.
All right. Here we go. I got it.
So we're gonna do the tasting. You're gonna tell me what you smell. What do you got?
Some really nice hints of red wine.
Okay, perfect. We have a red wine, so we're 50% correct. All right,
50% correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I've never done like a full taste testing before, so that's why I'm intrigued because I want you to taste.
There's no right or wrong answer. Everyone's palate, sense of smell is totally different.
I'm smelling oak.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of oak on this. I get a lot of like black plum, black fruit, blackberry.
Can you do the full-on taste testing where you take in air through the mouth, you put the tongue to the roof, you let it?
No, because I always do it like the wrong way to get like the retronasal senses going, and most of the time I don't spit, I just drink. So
Oh, this is good. This is a good one. I mean, I've always loved Malbec, and I told you that was
Malbec is great. It's for the new wine drinker profile, especially in America. Most Americans didn't grow up drinking wine in their families. Like their parents weren't drinking wine. My parents drink beer occasionally, a mixed drink here or there, but like most people aren't like coming from wine backgrounds. So the American palate traditionally, when you start getting into wine, is into sweeter wines. So White Zinfandel really saved, the California market with like Zinfandel production. Then once people start going into like red wines, they want like a bold wine, but they want something smooth. Malbec is great for that. It's a nice, smooth, jammy. You get like plum, blackberry.
Yep.
It's not too tanniny, easy drinking. Whenever I make a sangria, I actually like to use Malbec as my red wine.
That makes sense. Very jammy, like you said. I could definitely.
Very jammy. Absolutely. And when you mix that with like orange juice and whatever for your sangria, Malbec is actually a better play than most Spanish wines.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is good stuff. Yeah. So this is the Argentina.
And cheap.
Yeah, Argentina. Now, why does Argentina make such good Malbec?
God, that's like a 40-minute essay question. No,
Oh,
really,
all right,
that's
all right.
actually. So the thing about Argentina is they're planting up in the Andes Mountains. And the reason why Argentina can make really good Malbec is a grape, which is like early budding, mid-ripening. So you can't have a climate which is too hot. Otherwise, you'll lose that refreshing acidity within it. It'll be just flabby, jammy. So they're planting these up in the Andes Mountains. And some of the highest vineyards in the world are in Argentina. And at night, it gets really, really cold, where physiologically the grape actually stops its respiration and slows down, really keeping its physiological, like metabolic rate to a minimum, preserving that fresh acidity. So when you get a wine from Argentina, it's got good crisp acidity because it's so high, like up in the mountains. Some of the highest vineyards in the world are actually in Argentina. Malbec came by way of the Europeans, And Malbec in France, where it originated from, was almost decimated in 1956 in a really big frost. And most of the Malbec in France was replanted to a different types of varietals. So even though Malbec is indigenous to France, it's like new spiritual home is Argentina. They've taken it.
Wow, that is incredible. You know, that's really fascinating how it moved there, and they are just blown out of the water here. And
Absolutely.
it's interesting because I'm running created the Instagram page Top Wineries, and every once in a while,
which I absolutely
you
love.
enjoy
It's
it?
fantastic.
Thank you. And
I'm always commenting on it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
unfortunately, I mean, you know how busy residency is. I'm also
Sure.
There's so much going on with students of dentistry now. We're trying to promote our side website for pre-dental mentoring, and then hopefully to build it into dental mentoring for residencies and stuff. But it's as we go. But that being said, I'm sure you've seen I try and get more of these posts where the wineries, you know this better than I do. I know that. But in between the rows, you'll see the little flames, right? And that's to help keep the moss down, right? You don't want the frost down. And you don't want that frost to lead to mildew and all that damage that you said happened in Toulouse, France, right?
Sure.
And I mean,
you also want to plant mid-slope because the cold weather and the frost will roll down to the bottom of the hill.
Right.
So traditionally in France and other places in the world, the best slopes producing the most ripe fruit and the best fruit were always in the middle of the slope. The top of the slope, the wind is too harsh, the soil is too thin.
Right.
The bottom of the slope, the soil is too rich and fertile. You know, you want your grapes to struggle, to really work, not give you so much, give you less, but what they give you is better quality. The middle of the slope, you don't really get too much rain, good drainage, frost protection, because again, the frost rolls down the hill.
Yeah.
And most of these places are located at like really high latitudes when you really think about it. So the position of the sun is actually better for them based on the curvature of the earth. Based on the curvature of the earth, and you get longer like daylight hours, and there's a lot of farming that I'm studying obviously for this exam for sure.
Right.
But
would you ever consider
never
growing your own wine?
No. The more I learn, the less desire I have. If I did anything in the wine industry, I would become like a wine investor. That's it. Absolutely.
All right.
That's it. But I have a friend who runs a fund, so if you're ever interested in like investing, let me know.
No. I'm just thinking like we get a bunch of oral surgeons together. I know a couple others that are into wine as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Come together, create our own winery, make it like a skull on the side. I mean, I'm sure you know too. There are so many wines out there. I got one.
Absolutely.
Hold on. Check this out. Have you ever tried this? This is Prayers of Sinners, and it's got
No, I've not.
And this glows in the dark right here.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
So it's just sitting on the countertop, and it goes, by the way, excellent wine, and it's got the little pretty sweet. I'll send the information later, but
nice. If I were to open up a winery with a bunch of oral surgeons, I think we should name it L'Orangerie, right? Give it something French.
Right, that's great. Yeah,
I think so.
I love that.
Right?
That would be great.
Makes it sound elegant until you find out what it actually is.
What it actually does.
People's don't. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, that's hilarious. That would be great. It would be such like it sounds so elegant and so French.
Absolutely.
So wine.
Right. These oral surgeons are so sophisticated.
And funny too when you if you know, you know. How about this? Let's in between trying them while we're finishing the glass.
Sure.
I got four half to medium filled glasses here. Let's pop in between oral surgery too. I wanted to get an idea of your background, and I know a little bit of it, right? I know you started in Manhattan, but let's go back to the roots. Let me get some information, and also the listeners, because a lot of people have been coming back to me. They want to hear more oral surgeons, aka you. You know, all the previous history that I have with a couple surgeons coming on the podcast. That's why I was really pumped that we got you on tonight after all these months. But let's go back to the roots. Undergrad, where you grew up, all the way into where you're at now, dental school, residency, and so on and so forth. And then we can finish up that anniversary. Yeah.
So I grew up in LA, born and raised, went to a small Catholic private school, went to SC for undergrad, double majored in history and bio with an emphasis in medieval history and molecular bio. I know has nothing to do with
medieval
anything.
History. Wait,
medieval history.
Yeah.
My honors thesis was on the Third Crusade of Richard Lionheart.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did some research in telomerase. So really loved the whole molecular bio thing. Had a scholarship from undergrad, which carried into dental school at SC. It rolled in. So for dental school, got into UCSF, got into UCLA, went back to USC because my scholarship from undergrad rolled over and it was cheaper for me to go to SC than it was to go anywhere else. Went to SC for dental school, continued research while I was in dental school, and we discovered a pathway using molecular bio-like techniques by which oral squamous cell carcinoma would turn on a gene to turn on another gene, which would create an enzyme which would burn the basement membrane, MMP9, and that would cause oral cancer to metastasize. So we showed the entire pathway, and if you could turn off the gene sequence at any point, MMP9 enzyme would never be made, the cancer would never metastasize. And so for that, I won the Hatton Award back in my third year of dental school. Went to Sweden for an international competition, took first place. So really pumped about that. That was awesome. And went back to dental school. Yeah, won it as a third year. So it's kind of like the Heisman Trophy of like dental research, or the Nobel Prize of dental researcher. Won it as a third year. I'm the first and only California dental student to ever win that. I went back and thought I was like a god. The restorative faculty like hated me because they were like, we really don't like him because, I mean, they asked me the first day, what kind of a dentist do you want to be? And God, I was so arrogant at the time. I said, I'm only here because I have to do dental school to become an oral surgeon.
No, you didn't.
Oh, I totally did. I mean, and they all knew it too. But I said that, they knew it, and I became an oral surgeon. So, whatever. It's okay. It all works out well.
And it totally links to wine, right? Because you're learning about history, you learn about the molecular biology behind science, cancers, and such.
Wine's great.
There's so much history in wine. There's
Wine's
so much
great because it's all science,
geography,
farming, a lot of OChem, distillation, techniques for winemaking. There's a lot of lawyers and physicians who get into wine. The lawyers, I don't know, because like their job sucks, but like people in healthcare and science, there's a lot. Appreciate. It's not just drink a glass and get trashed. It's a lot more than that. But the history, if you like Western European history, you would love wine. The story's the same.
Yeah.
The Romans came, they conquered, they brought vineyards, blah, blah, blah. The church came and just continued on and on. Because you remember back in the day, like water wasn't safe for drinking. So the average Roman legionnaire would drink like a couple liters of wine a day. It's not concentrated, but like, it was safer than the water that they were drinking at the time. They just had to, They would save the good stuff right before battle. Get waste, get aggressive, get drunk, and go for it.
That's was right before war. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Have a little bit extra. Get amped and just go for it, dude. Give a guy a sword and a helmet. Charge.
Literally, like right, not like the day before, but literally like before.
No, the night before. Night before. Get ready. Go. You're good. Yeah.
Load up on some wine and head on out there. Helmet and sword.
Exactly. They didn't have speed or other drugs, so they did what they did.
Hey, there's nothing like beer confidence, right?
Right? Exactly.
But alcohol confidence is something else, that's for sure.
I'm telling you, create an empire out of it.
And so they did. Let's move on to the next one, huh? You want to do it?
So our next one, this is a Cabernet Sauvignon from Chile. But quick fun story about the first one from Argentina, the Malbec.
Yeah.
It's from these folks, the Catenas, and you'll see Nicholas Catena and you'll see Laura Catena on the right side. She's the fourth generation winemaker. She's actually an MD from Stanford and went to Harvard for undergrad, became a physician, doesn't practice medicine, and took over the family business and makes wine.
Wow. I love that. I love that.
Super cool.
And from Argentina, so she came up to the United States.
Well, absolutely.
Stanford.
Harvard for undergrad and Stanford MD.
Harvard and then Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Smart chick. She spoke at the last diploma graduation ceremony in London. Good.
That's going to be
what
you?
Are you smelling this one? Pardon me?
Is that going to be you? You're going to go, where is the...
So the graduation's in London, 2026. Hopefully I'll pass this next exam, and you'll see me in London in 2026.
Okay, so 26.
Their year is not a January through December year. It's kind of like an academic year, July to June. Yeah. And so after this exam, I got a couple more, and from there, we'll see what happens. A research paper, a couple more exams. Yeah.
How long? And is that all a research paper too? That's not all
research paper. Pardon me?
Just 1 month? No.
My exam in October is a 2-day exam, like literally the whole day. I'm not going to work. The office is closed. The first day is just all essays, all written, all theory. The second day is 12 wines blind tasted for the second day. 3
Wow.
wines are the same grape anywhere in the world. So Chardonnay, California, France, South Africa.
Mm.
The next 3 are the same region. Could be Bordeaux, could be Burgundy, could be Napa. The next 3 are the same country, and the last 3 are a potpourri, mixed bag, anything, anywhere.
What are you gonna pick? Or is it just a
It's whatever
random?
they pick. It's whatever they pick, and I gotta follow what they.
Shoot.
Yeah. So I'm blind tasting 12 wines for the second day. So
Man.
we'll see how it goes.
You're gonna be hammered getting out of there. So I mean, at least it's a win, right?
You're supposed to spit, but yeah, you know.
Sure,
But
sure,
like
sure.
I said, you know, I don't know how to do the retro nasals.
Yeah.
Cheers, right?
Cheers.
So cheers.
By the way,
Absolutely.
I'm smelling some citrusy, some citrus something.
I almost get like eucalyptus, pepper, tobacco.
Eucalyptus. Definitely eucalyptus. There, I'm getting.
So where they grow it, there's like a forest, this particular cab, and what happens is you get a lot of those natural oils from the trees in the area, and they come on the grapes. And so when you process the grapes, you get those essences with it.
Yeah, just to show off what we're tasting right now.
Right. And this is incredibly like cheap. This is absolutely resident approved in New York City. You can drink a nice wine. Listen, if you have a cab from Napa, you're not going to get a decent cab for less than $100+, right? Like a decent cab from Napa.
Which one was the one that was on the more? They were all very
expensive side?
Yeah, which one? That was
so the two last ones. The 2 last ones are the
That's
all of these are great ROI. Cabernet Sauvignon is probably the most planted red grape in the world. Fun fact, most of it, the country with the highest plantings is actually China. But like no one drinks Chinese Cabernet.
Really?
Yeah, I mean the numbers are always bigger in China, but no one's drinking Chinese Cabernet for many reasons. But this is from Chile. Their currency sucks, so you get a favorable exchange rate, which is one of the reasons why they're like, I think the number 7 exporter in the world. And initially they were really known for bulk wine, but like a few producers are really trying not to do cheap bulk wine, but like higher quality. And this is one that's up there, you know? So you can get really good quality wines from Argentina, from Chile, buy a steak, have it, you know, impress your girlfriend, right? There you go. You know, funny, because when I first really got into wine, it was actually in New York City.
Really?
Back when I was at NYU, there was a wine shop on 3rd Avenue up on the East, and I was living like 33rd and 1st. So it wasn't like too far for me to like walk. I would go walk there. And there was this French guy who was super cool, really approachable, and I knew nothing about wine, but I would just tell him like, hey, I'm going to have like some people over, would like to buy a bottle. And he was so cool, where he would just say, what's your price point? What are you making for dinner? And what did you like that you've had before? Like the 3 questions that like really anyone should ask, because if you can't afford it, then like forget it. Why tease you? What are you eating for dinner? Something that would pair well. But like, what do you like to like really like hone it in? And this guy Aldo was the one who actually gave me my first wine education, like, and I would consistently go back to him over and over and over again. He was like just super cool about it, and it was just a guy in a wine shop. And that's what I always tell people, like, you don't have to take classes, you don't have to study maps and do anything stupid that I'm doing. Right. You just have to go to a nice wine shop, find someone who's just approachable without the attitude, and will just take the time to like sit and talk to you. And if they do have attitude, my suggestion is you go back to the wine shop in scrubs, right? So that they feel insecure, right? And they drop the shtick. But that's, I mean, that was really it. So I mean, when I was resident in New York, if you want to go out to a nice fancy dinner, wine, this and that, you can't afford that on your resident salary. But you've seen my cooking. I can cook. I have the wine. You're at my place. Play some music. You know, what else do you need?
Even better. Good company.
Absolutely.
How often would you have people over? And how long were you in New York exactly?
4 years. 2004 to 08. Yeah.
The full 4 years. Okay.
Yeah. 04 to 08, and I went to Indiana technically I left New York in 07. In Indiana, I started January 08. So I was there for my last 2 years of residency.
Okay. So it was the last 2 years. And so 2004 to 2006, and then it was 1 year? No, it was 2 years of residency here.
7 years. To 2004 to 7.
Okay. Why was it 2 year, 3 years? Why?
So I was in the 6-year track. So I did my
Okay.
first year, third year med school, second year med school, third year med school, had some family issues, couldn't continue with med school, had to take some time off. And residencies are totally different now. Where like you can have a kid, get maternity leave, get like whatever leave. Back then, things were different. And if you weren't like on track, you just couldn't continue residency and you had to go to like another program. So I went from a 6-year to a 4-year like track. God, I forgot when I first started, I was the last year before the 80-hour rule week. So my first week of residency, I spent 113 hours inside the hospital. After
Sounds
my
about right.
first year, they were like, "Great news, guys! We have an 80-hour rule week."
Mm.
Bad news, we didn't get any extra residents, so this 80-hour rule week doesn't really apply to you. Because again, it's like 80 hours sounds great, but you need more people to bring the number of hours down.
Oh, I know.
Of course you knew. So we would always get again, without naming institutions, we would always get like a pamphlet, New York State compliance.
Yep.
And the secretary would tell us, fill this out in pencil, please. Right? It was, hey, listen, you're going to like write whatever hours you want to write anyways. I am so tired. I've been up 36 hours. Just fill it yourself. I just want to go home and sleep. And that was it. I don't have time. I don't have time to like come up with like some fake numbers of like what I worked and just write whatever.
There was similar thing here where how do I say this? I heard of a program that wasn't abiding by the 80-hour work week for a while, and then they got caught. And it doesn't really work. I guess I can't talk hypothetically. So, but yeah.
Well, the problem with that is, let's say your program is non-compliant. Okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to rat out your program so that you graduate from a non-accredited program? No. And if you complain, then you're that guy, and then everyone beats on you more and more and more, and it's like you just don't do it, you know?
Right. And it's tough because when you do, if you were to rat out a program, everyone would know. So now it's everyone against you, right?
Absolutely.
And they're not just going to take in an extra resident halfway through the year or however it turns out. So what does that mean? You're going to have to do more. You're going to be more short-staffed because they're going to be giving residents post-call. And when they get post-call, you're down a resident every day. So no, it's exactly everything you were saying. It's an interesting situation, right? And I can't imagine, because at Amos, I got a better idea of how many residencies are out there doing this. How many are they're not even doing the 80-hour work week. So it's an interesting thing, because
it's a great concept, but it's not practical and applicable for what we do. It just isn't. When I was back in Indiana, when we were on face call for the whole state, because we were the only oral surgery program, and plastics wasn't really into like facial, anatomy. They're more into like breast, trunk, reconstruction. Yeah, the ENT folks were like into cancer and like audiology, and they had their own specialties. So again, when we were on face call, if someone was driving through the state, going to Chicago, got into an accident, they would get airlifted to like Methodist Hospital. If you got kicked in the face by a horse, which like is the worst injury I've seen, you got airlifted in. So we would see blunt trauma, penetrating trauma. You were literally up for like the whole week, to the point where it's like, we don't have time to take people to the operating room. You're just going to wire him shut in the ER, follow up in clinic, and you're just done. And you're just constantly doing that over and over and over again. But the training is good. I guess if I had to look back, building of character is variable, right? It's variable.
Yeah.
They tear you down. They don't always remember to build you up. They don't always remember that. Someone forgets that. But I had an attendee in my first year. This was hilarious because my co-resident at the time was up the whole night with like a Lefort 2 fracture. And we came in the next day. And this guy was like just trying to like pump us up, and he was a hard ass. And he says, sleep, sex, food. One of these you'll have, one of these you'll get occasionally, and the other one you can kiss goodbye. And I was just like, dude's like, who's this hard ass and whatever. And my co-resident was like, was it sleep, sex, food, sex? I love my girlfriend. God, I'm so hungry. I didn't sleep. I'm tired. What's the order? And I was like, it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out within like a few days.
The guy that came over wasn't getting any sex. We know that. We know that.
Clearly. And it didn't matter. I mean, within a couple of days, you were like, okay, we're going to eat. And, there's no sleep. And that was it.
Right. Right. Oh, here's a question. How did you like that transition going from being in the 6-year program into a 4-year program? Liked the switch? Wish you did finish out the 6? What are your thoughts on that?
I think a 6-year program is excellent if you get into academic oral surgery, where you're in a setting where you're dealing with other MDs and other people for whom that's, a big deal for. I think a dozen years later, you see so many specialties and subspecialties in a hospital setting where an MD isn't what it used to be. So what do I mean by that? You have CRNAs doing anesthesia in lieu of anesthesiologists. You have PAs everywhere. So if you were just a DDS in a hospital setting, I don't think it's like as much of a big deal as it was like a dozen years ago, where it had to be an MD or an MD DDS, and those are the only people allowed in the hospital. Now, with healthcare becoming so subspecialized, with various auxiliary fields coming in, to just, PAs in particular.
Yeah, CRNA. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You have PAs everywhere. They're all over the place. They're doing so much. When people had surgery, like the PAs, they're amazing, but like, again, I think it's the alphabet soup has become more inclusive in the hospitals. In private practice, and again, this is really hard to say because I don't want to like paint such a homogeneous brushstroke for like the whole field.
Yeah.
But there are some referring doctors who feel more comfortable with the single degree rather than a dual degree person. The dual degree oral surgeon normally starts off with, hi, I'm Dr. like MD DDS. And the general dentist is already kind of feeling a little insecure. They don't feel like we're the same, we're good, whatever, because you have an extra degree that you're holding over my head and like this knowledge base. And you never want to do that. You never want to do that. When I first got out, and by the way, I really loved the episode with Bloody Tooth Guy because his story resonated so well with me because that was my story, coming out. When I got out, I was thinking back, how many places I worked at? He worked at 9. I worked at 12 different like spots. I had gotten out in 2010, right in the middle of the recession. So no one was hiring, no one was selling. And my option was, there was a job opening in Dubai, which I like probably should have done looking back. But I mean, my God, it would have been amazing. But I really wanted to go back home. So I came back home. But again, no one was hiring. No one was looking to sell or to partner up. So I had to play Doc in a Box, get in my car, drive everywhere, and literally one place to another, to another, to another. 2 phones, bat phone, my personal phone. The bat phone became the Pacific Oral Surgery line, and you slowly grow it little by little by little. But nothing came easy. Everything was built from the ground up. And the only advice for anyone who's like thinking of doing it is be the 3 A's. That was told to me. Be affable, be affordable, and be available. And not in any particular order, but like do a good job, put your head down. And if you do right by people, they will see. They will see you and they will like eventually like build that trust in you and you will build that rapport with them. And it works well. There were a lot of referrals. I was really happy when they first would refer to me right when I opened up my spot. I was like, yes, I'm a god. I'm amazing. You should refer to me. But those were the people who didn't stick because you find that these referrals are so fickle. If they badmouth the peri or the oral surgeon before me, I was like, oh yeah, that guy does suck. I'm better.
Oh, then they badmouth you.
They're going to badmouth me as well. Absolutely.
Right.
The ones that I had to really fight for and gain their trust, those were the ones who became really loyal. They might try me out as second opinion. So-and-so couldn't do it. So-and-so doesn't take their insurance. Would you mind seeing this patient? Part of the 3 A's. I'm affordable, I'm available, and I'm affable. You see them, you do a good job, you knocked it out of the park, and then they try you with another one. So a lot of my initial cases when I first started were second opinions, complications. I wish someone would just give me like something from the beginning, but that's not the way it works. Especially in California. In California, most people don't realize, but approximately 20% of dentists in America practice in California. It's about 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 dentists, and they're not practicing in the desert. they're practicing coastally anywhere from San Diego to San Francisco,
Right.
along the coast, and you have general dentists doing all on fours, general dentists doing, braces, endo, everything. You go
Yeah.
into their office, you're not leaving, they're doing it all. And if they can't do it all, they'll bring in someone. It's a hyper competitive market, as I
Right.
call it.
Right.
And when I first started off, I was doing the doc in a box thing for about a year. And by like 8 months, I had saved up enough money. I opened up my own shop. I was working here 3 days and traveling outside for 3 days. I would be here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, outside Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I would work.
Mm.
I wasn't busy enough, so like 3 days was more than enough. If I had patients, I would have them in the morning. In the afternoons, I would have a lunch, meet people, and just slowly build it up.
Right.
One of the biggest things for me was study clubs. So my first year, I had 14 study clubs, 14
Whoa.
different study clubs.
When
Yeah.
would you fit the time in for a study club? Once a month, once a week, but 14?
They
Do you
were
know?
different. They were totally different. So I would run like a Spears group, and that would meet once a month. And I had two different Spears groups. I
Mm.
would do an implant study club, 3 sessions, done. Hygiene study club, 3 sessions, done. Over and just an all on X study club, 3 sessions, done. But I had 14 study clubs my first year. When I got married, I promised my wife I would keep it to single digits. So I capped myself at 9. But if I have lunch with someone, I can meet one person one-on-one. If I have a study club, 10 people in my office comfortably, no problem.
Yeah.
If I have a
Yeah.
seminar, you can realistically have 70, 100 people. And so you have the ability to scale your message to a greater number of people.
Right.
Social media, now it's unlimited.
Right. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's, one of the things that I really like about social media in particular is if you don't, I hate to say advertise because it sells us cheap, but if you don't communicate effectively what your capabilities are, you're just a legend in your own mind.
Yeah. No one knows.
No one knows. So a lot of the stuff I get, like zirconia implants, I've had referrals from like 30, 40 minutes away, which is far in Southern California. We're not talking like upstate New
No.
York or Oklahoma or something for
Right.
like 40 minutes because like there's no one else around. But like
Mhm.
you're driving a while and the referral will call and say, hey, a patient just asked me about those white implants. What do I know about it? I told him, I don't know anything, but there's this guy who seems to know a lot. Go see him. And it's just kind of a way to communicate effectively what your abilities are, what your ethos is.
Right.
So for me, guided surgery has always been a really big part of my practice.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah.
When I first got out, and again, this is 2010, 2011, there were only 2 oral surgeons who had a cone beam in their office, which is like mind blowing. There were more endodontists who had a cone beam in their office than oral surgeons locally. Now
Wow.
everyone does. Now everyone does. But back then, everyone would always say, why do you need a cone beam? You have a seat, you have a pano, you should be good enough. And that's
Right.
such a
Right.
stupid, antiquated response that I'm sure many attendings out there say for all your listeners. And just, they're old and stupid. And I have no problem saying that. Whenever I give a lecture on guided surgery for Nobel or whoever,
Yeah. Yeah.
I swear, every time I give a lecture on guided surgery, there will be an old curmudgeon attending oral surgeon or a perio who will come up to me before the seminar starts and make a point to tell me I don't need to be here. I'm being forced to come. I said, okay, thank you. And by lunch, that same person will come up to me and say, I learned something. I've got a case I can use this for. But that was just the prevalent attitude back in the day. So what do? No one was doing guides. No one was doing anything. But you know what? I started my practice from scratch. There was no one to bias me how I wanted to practice.
Mm.
So when I found my groove, I found it organically because I didn't have anyone putting constraints on me. I really believed in the technology. Like I really, really did. And no one else did, which makes it even more gratifying because I stuck with it and everyone poo-pooed it. Everyone poo-pooed it. Why are you spending the money? Why are you putting the time in it? You don't have to do it this way. Keep it simple. But I really believed in it. And eventually the technology caught up with us.
Right.
The intraoral scanners were around. That was fine. They came after like really cone beams. But really the missing link of the entire puzzle was 3D printers. you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
once the 3D printers came into being and you can now in-house manufacture your guides and templates,
Right.
now you had
Right.
a game changer. So initially, you want to get to the third wine? I know this is a really interesting conversation. Let's go
Sure.
to the third one.
Yeah. Keep going. So now you can
So when I
fabricate
first,
guides. Yeah. In the office, right? Yeah.
so when I first started out, so the third one we're drinking, this is from Tinito di Guido. These are the folks who make Sassicaia, their first label, which sells for like 300, 350. This is their second label. It's Merlot made in Italy, so it's got a really unique characteristic to it. When you have it, it's got like a lot of sour cherry, bright cherry, like acidity
Yeah.
to it.
Very.
Acidity to it. You get the sour cherry, you know.
When you point these notes out, I'm picking it up right away. Oh yeah.
But if you have a sip, hold it under your tongue for a little bit, swallow. You see how you're salivating a little bit?
A lot. A
A
lot.
lot. That's
Oh,
the
very
acid.
cheery.
Acid in Italian wines that they're really known for.
Mm.
And as soon as you salivate, what do you want to do? You want to grab another bite of food, which is why Italian wines are excellent with food because their high acidity makes you salivate and it pairs really well. If you have like a rich steak, anything with a lot of fat or tannins, this would cut right through it and do really well. But funny story, I got discovered by Nobel because back in the day, if you wanted to have like a 3D guided template for guided surgery, they were only manufactured in Zurich, not in America, not in-house, only in Zurich.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you would have to use a lab. You couldn't just submit the files or anything yourself. Okay. And there were no like really intraoral scans and whatnot. You would literally take a PBS impression, PBS, not alginate, send it to the lab. The lab would do a wax up, spray some like silver dust on it, and they would have a desktop scanner to scan it. There was no intraoral scanner. You would give a copy of the CT scan on disk.
Right.
Your lab would upload the DICOM file, have the intraoral, or not the intraoral scan, but the desktop scan file, send it all to Zurich. Someone would plan it. You would look at it on your Nobel guide, confirm, and then they would manufacture it. And I was literally the only one buying them from Nobel because, again, it's only made in Zurich. It would be a Monday case for Salib, you know, with whatever lab that I was using in Irvine. Tuesday comes, another case for Salib. Wednesday, 2 cases for Salib, you know, like the next day, another case for Salib, another case for Salib. And they were like, who the hell is this guy? No one else is like using our product except this guy, and he's using it a lot. So I was single at the time. Remember, it's a Friday. I'm here at my office, and the lab tech comes over. He's like this little short Vietnamese dude, super cool. Kelvin comes in. Nader, we got to go to Vegas. Sweet. Let's go, dude. Like, when are you thinking of going? Tonight. Jesus, dude, you got to give me some time. He says, no, we're going to meet the folks at Nobel. I'm like, when? Tonight. What? Tonight. It's like, what's going on? Let me finish my surgeries. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. We're going to meet these guys. There's a big all on X, like lecture, 2-day course, Bedrosian and Sklar from down in Miami, Bedrosian up in the Bay Area. And he says, we're going to meet the guy who's going to make or break you, like whether or not you have a shot at like lecturing. It was like, whatever, dude. So I have like my iPad, put together a quick presentation. We get to Vegas at midnight. We meet this guy, Mike Vandenkoek. I mean, we're lucky to buy tickets same day. If you meet this guy, at the Wynn Bar at 12 o'clock in the morning. Bring out my iPad, looks at me. What do you got? Show him the case, number 8, placed digitally, all that stuff. And we talk till about 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And this guy's asking me like really, really, really specific questions. I thought the guy was a prosthodontist. He has no formal dental education. He was the original rep of San Diego, but back then he was trained by Brandenmark in Jokkmokk, Sweden.
Yeah.
He was like, from the beginning, he kind of knew everything. He went to every AO meeting, every perio meeting, every oral surgery meeting. He's seen it all. Like nothing surprises the guy. His questions were really like poignant. And I answered them all. And at the end I said, what do you think? And he says, I don't know if we can use you. I said, all right, that's fine. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the drinks. And I said, well, why not? And he says, because you're a good 5 years ahead of everyone else. That might be too big of a gap for our surgeons to try to like close. This was back in 2013. I'm like, all right, thanks for the drinks, bro. Have a good day. So he goes his way. I go out with the lab tech, and the lab tech's like, "You killed it! You killed it!" I was like, "I don't know, dude. The guy said like he can't use me, whatever." He's like, "No, no, no. Let's go outside." I'm like, "What are you gonna do?" He's like, pulls out a cigarette. He's like, "It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen." And I'm like, "You think it's gonna happen? I'm gonna get like a lecture like career out of this thing?" He's like, "For sure." So I'm like, "Give me a cig, dude." So I have a cigarette, smoking, and then like, you can call me Al. Paul Simon comes on, and I'll never forget it. It's one of those Vegas moments where you're just like, if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, like, so be it. You know, again, nothing forced, whatever. Next morning, like, I'm not getting up till like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, right? Our phones are blowing up. Where are you guys? Where are you guys? Like, you're not at the lecture. We're like, we didn't know you were supposed to go to the lecture. So we go to the lecture. Everyone's like shaking my hands. Dr. Salib, Dr. Salib. I'm like, how the hell does anyone know who I am? Kelvin says, I told you, you're in. We go have dinner that night with head of like teaching, training, education. Really, really nice person. Good, fine. Apparently, like I checked all their boxes, so I was good. Then that night, we meet up with Bedrosian, Dr. Ed Bedrosian. Same bar, 12 o'clock. And we stayed till 4 o'clock. And he was the nicest person. And I have nothing but such kind things to say about the guy. Bought us drinks, wouldn't let me pay for anything, and gave the most honest, fatherly advice about lecturing on the circuit, joining the circuit, what to expect. And, I'll never forget his advice, till this day. He was just right on point. Really, really super guy. Same thing, finished at 4:30 in the morning. I was like, God, dude, this is far,
we gotta get
back.
out.
Yeah, went back to California and,
Another cigarette?
No.
Right.
And only smoke cigars and like, that's just too much for me. I'm not a cigar guy. And, Paul Simon wasn't playing, so the mood wasn't right. So we couldn't do it. But, it was gratifying because I had stuck with this vision for so long and I was banging my head against the wall. This is going to happen. It's the future of dentistry. I can't imagine it any other way. And you as a resident, you're looking like, God, how could they have done it any other way? When we first started, we used to take an impression, give the impression to the lab, but there was no way for you to correlate the thickness of the tissue with the bone. So you have to anesthetize your patient, take a probe, and literally poke it through their gingiva and measure the depth from the lingual side to the crestal all the way to the facial side. Bone sounding. And they would give you a chart. You'd be like, the gingiva here is 5. The gingiva here is 4. When I took my boards, like, again, this is like, I'm taking my boards in 2011, the oral boards. God, I was so sick. I had a really bad cold. And I'm in the dental alveolar section, and some ladies asking me to give me the panel on the screen is this really narrow spot. Ask me how I'm going to place the implant. I told them I'm going to do it guided. And I have my 2 examiners. The guy is like, tell me more. And the female is looking skeptical. How are you going to do it? I tell her, I'm going to bone sound. And what's bone sounding? So I tell her what I'm going to eyes light up like this, right? And I remember the examiners aren't supposed to hint one way or another if you're doing well or not, right? Poker face. That's what they tell you.
Yeah.
This chick wasn't giving me poker face. This chick was giving me a stink eye look. So she does this with her eyes, and I'm coughing, hacking, and I look at her and I go, you can't do that. Poker face. She's all in the middle of my boards, and so I just go on, tell her everything what I'm going to do, and she I obviously knew more than she did because she had never done that. She thought I was a butcher, and most patients hated that because it's God, you show up to the oral surgeon, he starts poking you, and that sucked. And I do occasionally a lecture, guided surgery, where we are now and where did we come from, and you just see this stuff 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and you're like, God, this must be the 1970s, and you're like, this was actually 2014, dude. So
not that long ago, yeah,
we just barely double digits ago, and I don't know, 10 years from now, they'll probably call us primitive for putting metal in people's mouths when people are doing stem cell, transferring of teeth germs and whatnot.
Maybe.
Probably.
Have you tried the IPS system?
I tried the what?
The IPS system, the maxilla, with all the screws, 20 screws. It's one plate that goes across with the abutment sticking out.
No, no, you know what? I've been having some talks with Dr. Chi Viet,
Yeah, she
uh,
did. Yeah. She was at it.
Proud NYU alum.
Yeah. That's
And so
right.
she's had some pretty good results with it. We've talked back and forth about it. I think that system has a lot of utility and promise for the highly atrophic compromised maxillofacial patient. For
Right.
sure, it has a lot of benefit. You know, hopefully a
Not
lot
enough
of
data on it though,
you know.
right? And it is still a
Pardon me?
not enough data on it yet though.
No, no, it holds
Yeah.
potential. And the thing with technology is you don't want to be the first person to jump on it. You want to be the second person,
Right.
right? You don't
Right.
want to be MySpace and Tom. You want to be Facebook and Zuckerberg or the Winklevoss twins, whatever. Getting the billions
Yeah.
of dollars. But it is a subperiosteal. I personally feel like it shows more promise in the maxilla rather than the mandible, just because it's a
100%.
fixed jaw. You have fewer issues, and all that stuff to go
Mhm.
along with it. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what the world of implantology and oral surgery will bring?
We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I mean, there's going to be a place for it. We got to see the long-term effects, and then fixed denture versus removable denture on top of that. But I wanted to ask you. Let me get the full story of how the beginnings of Surgical Gourmet.
So I had just had my son
When?
in 2015.
Okay. So about 9 years. Yep.
About 9 years ago. Kids when they're born literally wake up for 2 hours, eat, go to sleep, wake up for two
Yeah.
hours, eat, go to sleep, whatever. So I had to deal with my wife. Sunday night and Thursday night, Justin was hers. And I just told her, listen, honey, I have to be well rested. I can't have a complication. We get sued. The dream is over. So you got to stay up all night. And it worked. So guys, if you're listening, you're welcome.
It's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty
I
good deal.
thought so. Friday night, Saturday night, I would have the kid, and you've got a kid, you're feeding the milk. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. What are you going to do on your phone? You can't
Feed him
really.
your milk, right? Feed him
Pardon?
your this joke.
So you can't really watch YouTube videos, keep him awake. He's listening to his music and whatnot, and you're just kind of scrolling through your phone, what to do. And at the time, it was Bedrosian's son, Armand Bedrosian. He was in his pros residency, and he had started P365. Every day post something, every day post something, every day post something. So when you look back, you'll kind of see and learn. And I had met him, obviously, by way of his dad and whatnot, and was on Instagram. And he was like, dude, you got to post. You just got to post. Don't worry. No, the pictures. And he's like, just post. It's like the Gary V advice. Just post. Just put content out there. Don't worry about it being perfect, because it never is. It just never is. So I would just post. Here's my case. Here's what I cook. Here's my case. Here's what I cook. And it just took on a life of its own organically. But more than that, it was a really cool way of meeting various dental specialists who I could bounce ideas and cases off of. Met a bunch of other oral surgeons who I become really close and really cool with. Met a bunch of residents who have come and spent a day in my office, did a little externship. Met dental students who have come to my office, spent some time at my office as well. Now there's high school kids and college kids who will hit me up and just want to see what we do in oral surgery and whatnot. And that's been really good. You always try to pay it forward.
Right.
And
Right.
the same way that people, were nice and accommodated me, now I can, hopefully try to do the same and represent oral maxillofacial surgery for the next generation. And hopefully they will do the same to theirs. You always stay golden, always try to pay it forward. The rewards are more than you'll ever imagine, and they'll come from places you couldn't even dream of, So great study that came out from Harvard looking at surgeons and medical professionals, looking at where they get most of their current knowledge from. It wasn't seeing courses. It was actually just social media, text messages with their groups. I still have because I was in 2 different residencies, I have 2 different text groups going. One with my New York boys and one with the indie boys. The New York one is not really mostly about oral surgery. It's mostly other stuff. But it's really...
What else is in there?
Football season gets crazy.
You're fantasy?
No, I don't have the time.
All right.
How do you, Mr. Top Wineries of the world?
Man. Gotta make the time.
When you're married and have 2 kids, talk to me.
You have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids, a 9 and a 7-year-old.
9 and 7. Oh, 2 years
9
apart.
and 7.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 2 years apart.
Yeah.
My recommendation: do it once, go through the pain one time, finish, and just be done. the worst thing you can do is have a kid like 7 years apart. You gotta like sleep again and the whole like diaper training. Just do it one time. Your life will be miserable. Once your youngest child is past the age of 4, you're no longer on suicide watch. Suicide watch. Your kid's gonna stick their finger like in a blender in a socket, fall down a staircase. Suicide watch ends at 4.
Oh my God.
I've been dropping pearls
I
all
want a
night, dude.
bunch. I want to have
Right?
like, what?
I've been dropping pearls all day.
So many pearls. Yeah. I wanna
Starting
have
to
4.
practice, and you want to have 4?
Do you have any siblings?
I have 2. What? You're Irish Catholic? Yes.
Irish Catholic, yeah.
Oh, there you go. 4 at the minimum, dude. 4 at the minimum.
I
I went to Catholic prep schools. 4 is like not much.
But it's also the day and age. I feel like no one's having kids anymore. It's almost demonized in Manhattan here to have a kid. It's all about like being 40 and single and not having any kids. I'm like, I want to have kids, man. I want to have a family.
So I'll share with you a funny story. When I
Please,
lived in Manhattan,
yeah.
when I lived in Manhattan, I was like, I'm never getting married. I can be 40 and single, and it's totally fine. And then when I went to Indiana, like one day this nurse asked me, she's like, Dr. Salib? I was like, yeah. She's like, can I ask you a question? And she looked really sheepish. Like she didn't want to ask and she was embarrassed. I was like, what's up? What's your question? She says, I can ask you? I was like, yeah, what's your question? Are you gay? I was like, what? Why do you think I am gay?
I did not expect that. Wow.
I didn't. Well, you know what? I didn't either. And I was 30 at the time. And she was like, well, you're 30 years old. You're not married. You're single. You're from California. You're from California. You dress well and you drive a BMW. And I was like, well, clearly, if there's the gaydar is on because I'm single and have a BMW and dress well. They're like, no, why would you think I'm gay? I'm like, no, that's nonsense. Like I'm just
assuming
young, single, and I'm just in residency. I don't have time. And she's like, well, in Indiana, in the Midwest, you got to be married by 24, 26. And I was like, well, in New York, you can stay single till 40. 40? Wow. It's like, it's a different world.
Oh, yeah. I know a surgeon married at 44. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. In New York, you can totally do that. But in Indiana, they'll think you're gay.
Wow. And nothing wrong with being gay, right? I mean, there's a lot, especially in Manhattan.
I live in California. There's nothing wrong with being gay. You're totally fine.
And it seems like I've never been to California. I'm ashamed to admit I've never been there, but it seems like certain people flock to certain areas, but it could be a cool vibe here. I would imagine. Yeah.
I like it. It's a different mentality. It's a different way of life. The people here tend to be more progressively thinking, not just like, I'm not talking politics or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's a reason why most of the techs and startups and things like that happen here. There's an energy. There's just an energy and a vibe where people are just kind of always looking forward. It's a spirit, Bloody Toot guy came out to visiting some friends. I was like, you got to come visit. He came down to my house, and we were under construction. So my backyard was literally dirt. I pulled up two lawn chairs. We had some Grand Cru Burgundy, just sat looking at the dirt. He was like, man, California is just a vibe. I said, yeah, dude, it really is.
Yeah.
He's like, it's just different. It's just a vibe. It just is. There's a reason why so many songs are written about it.
Right. Oh, it is such a vibe. And it's amazing how California and Manhattan have that melting pot of perspectives, it's really a beautiful thing. I think it's great. The vibe is great. He came out to visit. How long ago was that?
Back in 22, a couple of years ago.
This is recently.
Oh, yeah. I was doing construction on my home.
Oh,
and
wow.
The first contractor, we had a fire because he was doing a bad job. So my pool was just like dirt. It was just a dirt hole.
He just started. Yeah.
Just a hole in the ground. No grass, no cement. Just two lawn chairs and the bottle of Burgundy. It was a great time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
Better since then. Let's go into this. Let's
do the last one.
Yeah? Let's give it a shot.
So one,
Rioja.
This one, first thing, if you look at the color, just kind of tilt your glass already.
Showing off the bottle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Cool. Glass has a like a garnet tint to it.
Yeah, I see that. Mm-hmm.
Almost like a little rusty. That comes from the age. So this bottle was from 2011.
I got a 2012. All right.
That's okay. That's the current vintage. I bought my stuff late, so that's on me. 12 is the current vintage. This is what they're releasing now. The other bottles that we had were all like, what, 21, 22. So the
Yeah,
wine
that's
hasn't had time to age and develop and get those complexities that you get from aging. And so
right.
that's the thing about Rioja. If you like Rioja, it is the best value you can buy in wine. And you smell it as you're drinking, you're like pretty fast.
That's really good.
I get leather, I get meat, tobacco, dried cherries, dried fig, cedar
I get
box.
the meat. I get the meat. I get the figs. Yep.
You get that leather.
A little bit of leather on the end. Yeah, on the
Yeah,
end.
dried like a cherry fruit roll up.
Yeah. Cherry fruit roll up.
Cherry fruit roll up. Yeah. Oh yeah, classic cherry fruit
I'm
roll up.
getting
Like
the leather now.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you come away from it. But the fruit roll up reminds me of some of the hints that when have you ever watched Gary Vee do some of his
He's
tastings?
great. He's actually legit.
You're a fan? All right, cool,
I'm
cool,
a
cool, cool, cool.
huge fan. I'm a huge fan. His stuff is legit. He like calls it as it is. When he like
He's
poo-poos
legit.
a wine, it's a wine that should be shitted on. Totally.
So you know, yeah.
The guy really knows his stuff. So this is a wine which is a dozen years old. It's out now. They've aged it for like 3 to 5 years in oak. They've stored it in a bottle. They've taken all of the price hit, aging it for you. Whereas if you bought like a Napa Cab 2020, 2021, something, you got to hold it in your cellar for 10 years before you're ready to really like drink it and Barolo even more. But
Yeah.
the Spaniards are great. They age it and then they sell it to you. And so this bottle is what, like $40, at least here in California. How much was it for you guys in New York?
God, how long ago did you buy the? Wait, this is a story I gotta tell. How long ago did you just buy the bottles that you got today?
Probably January.
You bought them in January?
That was good.
Because I bought mine back in, it was like January. It was like December. It must have been January.
Wait, you bought them at Astor Place, or where'd you buy them from?
Exactly where you sent them to me. I
I
bought
told
them
you
right
go to
there.
Astor Place. I looked up on the internet. Wow, how much were they charging?
I got them from Astor Place. That was it. I mean, it was 9 months ago now, but yeah, I did. And they've been sitting in the corner of my desk over there.
I said sorry already, dude. We're doing the podcast. I said let it
Since
go.
that day,
Right?
yeah,
What the
yeah.
fuck?
I've had so many
Jesus.
people come in looking at me like, you got wine over there, you got wine over here, you're an alcoholic over there, you're an alcoholic over here.
Yeah. Bottle's not open, so not an alcoholic.
Yep. I'll have to use that next time.
Which of your four was the favorite, if I can ask you? Let me throw it back to you.
I gotta say, I'm really, really liking the Rioja. I'm really liking this one.
It's a really complex wine.
It's too easy to drink, I must say. I always love Malbecs, but I'm just classically drink Malbec, so I would push that one back. I'd probably have to go with. I mean, it's just too simple to drink. I'd probably go with number 1, right here, the Rioja. Number 2, I think I gotta go with the Cab. I think I gotta go with the Cab number 2. It's a good Cab. Love the bottle. Love the wine. It smells delicious. But your selection here today was on point. It was perfect. I mean, I like them all.
Thank you. I tried
Excellent.
wine for a resident budget.
And you certainly did. This last one, though, this is a little too. This one's delicious.
This is a world-class wine for $40. If it was not Rioja, it would easily go for like $200 to $300. If it was like any other region, this is a wine you can sit for hours, watch it evolve, and literally pontificate.
That's what we're doing today. Today, right?
It's only,
So
it's only 10 o'clock and another hour before you go to bed. And you know what? Have some tomorrow. That's when you'll really see it open up. When you give it a full day to open up. Tomorrow will even taste better. Yeah.
Now, I have one of those, my mom got it for me. She used to work at a winery. I have one of those where you suction out the air within the wine. Would you recommend doing that? Leave it with, what would you recommend doing?
I like the Corbin. And if you're not going to use a Corbin, then you don't have to suck out the air. That's whatever. But I do like to put one of those caps in that keeps the air out. Put it in the fridge. Yeah. Within a couple of days, you're done. You're fine. But if you have a really expensive wine, Corbin, great, no problem.
I'll do it. All. Awesome. All right. So real quick, before we head out here today, we got you didn't finish your glass yet, right? We got some time. All right, cool.
We got 4 bottles.
Let me get a run through of the daily schedule. What time you wake up? What's kind of when you start your clinic? Do you obviously prefer sedations and stuff in the morning, not in the afternoons? Give me a rundown of what your day looks like, because I'm sure a lot of listeners want to hear some of
typical
insight.
Day. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Make my wife her coffee. She wants some espresso. Throw it in the freezer. Make my coffee. Go for a hike for about an hour and a half. Right at break of dawn. Look at the rabbits. Look at the birds in the air. Occasionally see coyotes. Just really kind of find my zen before the craziness of the day, because the day will get crazy. It just will. I try to like relax because the whole Somm thing. I usually study for like part of my hike, make it to work before 8 o'clock, right? 8 o'clock. So go home, shower, go to work, 8 o'clock. Morning, we try to do all of our procedures, sedations, implants, wisdom teeth, whatever we can.
How far is work from your home? So when you
Like
get up,
20
you're doing your
minutes,
walk.
20
10
minutes, 20
20
minutes
minutes?
drive,
Okay,
20
not
minutes
bad.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the hike is like fine. It's, whatever it is. Lunch, I may have a lunch with a referral. I may not. If I don't, it's okay. It's a chance for me to kind of just veg out, have some decent time to myself. If I have lunch with a referral, it's a great opportunity for me to go meet someone or just reconnect with people that I know.
Yeah.
Afternoon, consults, see them, whatever, meet with staff, meet with both back staff and front staff. Front staff regarding patients who haven't signed up for treatment, if anyone had any specific questions. All on X's in particular, there's always a story. There's always a question. It's a big procedure, so that's fair. Back staff.
How many team, like the front staff, back staff, what are we talking here? How many
Six people.
Six in the front or six altogether?
Six altogether.
And
how
many
back,
chairs?
everything. I have 3 chairs.
3 chairs. Okay.
Three
and
chairs.
then consult room separate
Consult
from
room
the
separate. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
And
I've taken one of my chairs and made it into my digital lab. So I'm really down to 2 chairs operating. That third chair, which is the digital lab, is recovery digital lab for stent impressions, delivery of prostheses, anything that I have to do. That's really what it was. It was really an operatory, but because I'm doing everything guided, the working time to place an implant is less than 2 minutes, right? Because we virtually operate on you 4 times. So I can use that third room, not as an operatory, but to really help facilitate, and do the logistics. Afternoon, mostly consults, meet with office manager, treatment coordinator, go over like the list, meet with a marketer, talk about various doctors we're trying to get in contact with. Back staff or guides, stents. They will do everything. They will scan the patient. They will start the process of making a guide. I show up, give the final approval, and whether or not I like the position of the implant or not. If I like it, I approve it, done. They print, they fabricate, finished, done, no problem.
who does this? Who is this?
My staff.
Wow. You got a well-trained staff. That's excellent.
You have to find a way to outsource your duties. You cannot be taking impressions as the surgeon, right? Because just from a pure business standpoint, the business makes money if these hands are working. If these hands aren't moving, we're not making money. No one gets paid. No one eats. No one drinks wine. Right. So back staff, I mean, you would never take a pano or a CT scan, right?
Right.
I mean, you know how to, in case, God forbid, something happens or whatever, you could, help out in a pinch. But, I don't remember the last time I took a pano or a CT scan. I just don't. I'm not taking... Residency is intern year, I always said I was, the most educated secretary in the world, You don't even know, dude. Back at intern year, we had this patient who was I swear to God, 700 pounds, broke their jaw. And I had to find a way to get them a CAT scan at the Brooklyn Zoo.
My
God. Because the machine in the hospital,
story, by the way,
I heard this story because the machine in the hospital wasn't big enough. So, it wasn't big enough. So I had to I joke, I had to fit her between a zebra and a gorilla and get this a whale in. I shouldn't say that joke because fat pig, you can't say that now. But I was the highest paid secretary in my office. No, I'm not taking scans. I'm not taking stents. You have to train your staff. You have to train your staff to function independently. Right. I don't hire stupid people. I go out of my way to hire really intelligent people because I hate micromanaging. And I don't tell people necessarily how to do things. I tell them what needs to be done. And I'm always surprised by their ingenuity because the way that I would want to do something isn't necessarily a way that they would want to do it, but the job was done. And when you do it that way, your staff becomes invested within the office and within the team.
They find the need, right?
People leave. people don't leave work because they're underpaid. That's not the number one reason. Like studies have shown it over and over and over again. Staff don't leave because they're underpaid. They leave because their job doesn't excite them. They
Right.
leave because they don't feel emotionally invested to the whole process. But when you give someone like not just a job and a duty and a task, but a mission, right? This is you and you can do it. And tell me what you think, you
Right.
know?
Right.
One of my favorite things, like my front staff, like she's amazing. She, if we get someone who comes in off the internet and I'm going to do an implant, they got to get a crown. So I'll refer them back to somebody. We always ask, what insurance do you have? Where do you live? And we'll play matchmaker and like hook you up with a general dentist who accepts your insurance. If like, you know, that's the case, is close enough to you. But most importantly, personality fit. So that's my front staff. Who do you want to set them up with? And she knows better than anyone. She talked to the person. She collected their paperwork. She's like, oh, this person's tough. Send them there. This person likes to talk a lot. Send them there. And just,
She knows.
she knows, but you know what? She loves it and she finds it funny and it's okay. It's totally fine.
That's amazing. That's great.
You
That's more than
cannot,
fun. It's best. Yeah.
you cannot run your practice and your staff like a military regiment because people burn out, people leave, and unless you're paying them an ungodly sum to stay there, they will leave. They will leave.
So in that example, how do you say you don't tell them how to do it, you just tell them what they need to get done.
Yeah.
What's kind of like, how do you actually deliver that to them? Like, how do you,
I just tell them that.
I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
I want you to be creative, like something like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And you
It
ask
gives
for the
them some
feedback.
wiggle
You
room.
ask for the feedback and you emotionally and physically engage them. You don't have to go get an MBA from Stern. You just have to treat people like people. Save the money. The MBAs are full of shit. Treat people like people. Make them part of a team. Every once in a while, like we don't do it as often as we should. If we're like really slow, then we do it. Morning, we just kind of like huddle in the reception room. Guys, what do you want to change? What do you want to do? I always say we have an open door policy, and me, myself included. If this isn't for you, the door is right there and leave. And when I say it, and I say including me, open door policy, that really resonates. They're like, oh shit, this doctor is like either crazy or like this is cool. Maybe a little bit both. But you know, the staff that we have stay with us for a while. For the most part, they only leave if they're going for something better, which is like, that makes me so happy.
You have to encourage them. Yeah, exactly.
The last person who was in the front was a foreign trained dentist. I wrote a stellar letter of rec. She went to the international program, finished, went into endodontics, is an endodontist, and now teaches part-time at SC.
Wow.
You know, I have a staff member now who's taking some time off of dental school. I have a front staff who is a dentist from the Philippines. We just try to attract people who are just intelligent, motivated.
Passion for dentistry. Yeah.
And the worst thing you can do is snuff that out with like your rules and your regulations. I mean, just listen, show up on time, be respectful, don't sexually harass anyone, don't do anything stupid, you know, like.
I hope not.
Yeah, I mean, there are some rules. There are, you know, it is California, so there are some rules, you know, that's it. And then you'd be surprised. You'll be surprised with the ingenuity that people have and their level of excitement, and it carries through. You know, I'm not always in a room. The thing that always gets me is the number of times I leave a consultation room, my staff goes in, and the staff will ask, is he any good? Right? So, I mean, normally the staff would be like, oh, he's amazing. But, like, it's not he's amazing. It's, you know, he's really good. He did a dental implant on me. Or he took out my son's wisdom teeth. And, like, they relate it. And it's a more, like, tangible, you know, thing. You will be surprised at the number of times you walk out of the room and your patient is going to question your surgical abilities with your back and front staff.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You will be surprised at the number of times.
That's not good.
No, but it's a different way of practicing now where, you know, I went to some course and they were like, look, our grandparents' generation, the general dentists that go to an oral surgeon, they would just go. No problem. Parents' generation, our parents, you got the referral. Did they take our insurance? I don't know. Okay, fine, we'll go. A little bit of hesitation. Now you get the referral and they're like, what do I need? Implant. Great. I'm going to Google implants. I'm going to YouTube a few videos. I'm going to see what's going on. I'm gonna Google.
It.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google search oral surgeons. The first three that show up, I'm gonna look at their website. I like this guy. I don't know about this guy, but to confirm my bias, I'm gonna go on Yelp and see if I really like them or not, and see what other people say about them.
Yeah, the
Before
reviews.
before they even called your office to come in.
Right.
I had a patient tell me, I need my wisdom teeth removed. I don't think I need sedation. I saw a YouTube video and I think I'm okay. I was like, listen, motherfucker, like your tooth is impacted. This is not like that. Show me the video. Show me the video, you jackass. Let me show you what Dr. Google told you. It's a completely different world. It's a completely different way that people, are consumers of healthcare. And a lot of times, a lot of my colleagues will say, I don't have patients. I have consumers. I have customers. I try not to go that way, but if you do a lot of direct to consumer marketing, a lot of Google advertisements, you don't get patients, you get customers. If you work with referrals, you get patients more than customers.
Right.
It's a different mentality. The closing rates are different. Someone comes in from a dentist, a good dentist, they come in the door. You ask who do I work with? How do I like to work with them? The smart ones, they're great. They tee up the patient. Patient comes in, hi, Mrs. Smith. What can we do for you? I'm here for my implant. Dr. So-and-so said you're the best and you do a guided. I don't have to tell them anything.
That's the best. That's the best kind of referral that you're looking for, right?
Absolutely. Someone comes in off Google and it's like, I'm thinking about, prove to me that this dental implant is for my benefit. It's like, okay, you want to be toothless and look like a hag with a denture? Do it. It's your mouth. It's your body. You're not dating anyone.
Like a tryout. You know what I mean? They come in, it's like a test. It's like a short answer verbal test.
It's the way
It's
the way healthcare is now consumed in America. I shouldn't just say America, but I should say most countries where you have Google, Yelp, and review-based systems where too much knowledge and you just don't have that trust you did with the dentist. My worst referrals. So I graduated SC.
Right.
Still teach, part-time. I'm very active. My worst referrals are new grads, especially from US.
Interesting.
They come out so highly in debt. That's probably the number one reason. They're so in debt. They probably have to do every procedure. They started up some practice and every dental rep is telling them, you can be a super GP. Do implants guided. No problem.
They're all super
scan it. The whole super GP thing has always been around. It's always been around. And the only people who really profit from it are the reps.
Yeah.
When the gold rush happened in California, who made the most money? Levi Strauss, the jean company. They were invented and formed during that time. The people selling the pan. How many miners actually found gold?
Right. It's a very small percentage.
Very small percentage.
Shovel makers. Yeah.
Right. You want any GP who comes out and says, I'm thinking about getting the CEREC. The first thing I always say is, go look at the used CERECs. You'll get a great deal.
Yeah.
Get a great deal. How many used CERECs are there out there? So many. Why? Because no one's doing it. Because everyone got sold this dream of make your own crowns in the house and save the money from the lab. It's okay, but it takes time. You got to design it. You got to get the expertise. The machine breaks down. And unless you're doing, I think the number is 35 crowns a month.
Oh,
it doesn't pay for itself. And really, you have to have a tech. And once that tech leaves, good luck. Guided surgery for implants. They sell it as so easy. I can't tell you the number of times the guide doesn't fit, or maybe you're drilling where you thought it should, and it's not there. And you can't go guided. You got to throw the guide away, cut it open, and go back to traditional technique. Guided surgery is not a substitution for traditional implant placement.
It's an adjunct. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what the reps aren't doing to sell it, because again, they have their own criteria and milestones they have to hit. My best referrals are old white guys. They're busy enough doing crowns and bridges and restorative work. They're not taking some CE course to do endo and I'm going to do all on X. They're not doing that. They would never do that because they're busy enough. They're profitable enough. They don't have a huge student loan debt hanging over their head. They're not financially obliged to do that.
Right.
Another really good referral source are women who are married with kids. And you'll see once you have kids, it's You got to go home. You got to just put some food on the table. You got to tutor your kid. You got to you have to take care of this human. And
Right.
whatever you did for work is your daytime job. This is now your nighttime job. Like, why would you want extra stress, implant learning, this, that? And you're not going to do it as well. Let's just be clear. And again, anyone who listens, you may be that 1% of general dentists who can remove wisdom teeth as quick as me. Maybe not me, someone else.
Yeah, of course. No, definitely not.
So my assistant now is like, you're so fast with wisdom teeth. And I'm like, what do you mean? The last guy, just for a regular tooth, would take an hour and a half, 2 hours with the person in the chair. But their schedule isn't busy enough because you're practicing in California where 20%, 1 of 5 doctors in America practices, your schedule's not booked. So you have time. You have an hour and a half because you're not busy with crown, bridge, restorative work to do.
Right.
That it forces you to do it.
Yeah.
It's a different world. I've learned to embrace it. I've had a couple of study clubs where we go over implant placement for the local GPs who played. And everyone thought I was crazy for doing it. And it was like, let's talk about sinus lifts and whether you can use a short implant versus you need a sinus lift. And let's talk about complications. And if you feel comfortable doing it, do it. And if you don't feel comfortable, I'm always here. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
But they always want to come up to you and be like, how do I do this case? It's like, if you don't feel like you can do it, you can always refer to me. They're like, that's not why I'm here. And then you're like, go fuck yourself. There's that. But I mean, one of the side things that I do is I occasionally do legal expert witness work for dental mal cases, both defendant and plaintiff. So I'm not like,
you're both sides.
Yeah. So if you're a GP placing implants, I'm not going to say you're awful. No, you do a good job. But the cases that I get that actually go to trial, so many things happened wrong and incorrectly. There was a failure on it wasn't the hand slipped and I hit the nerve.
It's multiple levels. Yeah.
You made a mistake here, and your ignorance from here built up and it built up and it built up. And suddenly you have this cascading foobar of a mess.
Yeah.
And you wonder what the hell happened? I had a classmate of mine from SC and they're advertising just down the street from me, all on X, half the price that we're doing.
GP?
And yeah, GP. And he broke a lady's jaw. It was like, whoa, how'd you break this jaw? And it was something I had posted early on on Instagram. It was check out this case and what can we learn from it? Mandible zoetrophic, 6 implants went in, tapered implant, and the jaw broke 4 days out. They didn't load the prosthesis the first day. They just placed the implants, cover screws, go home, wear a denture. 3 months later, we'll load you. Jaw broken around 4 or 5 days post-op, right? Wow. Not uncommon. You remember, if you remove a really big dentigerous cyst or a cyst out of the jaw, you tell your patient what liquid diet for how long? At least 6 weeks, 8 weeks. And when a broken jaw happens, it normally happens around the 1 week period because that's when osteoclastic, activity is at its peak. That's when the bone is at its most finished. And she wasn't eating anything. She just woke up, no yawn, just crap. Wow. You look at the X-ray, implant goes in, but there is this big radiolucency around it. And I was like, well, what the hell is that? And you see 2 little pin marks in the mandible. And you're like, Ryan, I'm playing with my kid. I get a call from this guy, send it to voicemail, calls again, send it to voicemail, text message, I need you to call me back immediately. Hey dude, what's going on? Hey, can I send you an X-ray? Yeah. I look at him oh shit, broken jaw. And you see 2 little pin marks. So I asked him, did you try to do this guided? Yes. How are you going to do an all-on-X guided on an atrophic mandible where you really can't get fixation? Couldn't. But he thought I can do it guided because the lab and the rep told me I can do it guided. Went in with his first drill bit, thought he was off, took it off. Of course, the guide was moving, so he was drilling part in the bone, part in the soft tissue. That's why it looked more radiolucent, because it wasn't a pure osteotomy. And he places 6 tapered implants, 11 millimeters long, 10 millimeters long, and a lady whose mandible is only 13 millimeters total height. Then you find out later, this has been going on for 2 years. And when you looked at the first pano, she had teeth and she had bone all the way to the top, but all those implants failed. You remove those, the bone shrank. did another set of implants. Those failed. Third set broke the jaw. Like, should you
Did
really
you
be
not
doing
think
this?
this might have happened? Yeah.
I mean, at some
Yeah.
point, do you not want to tap out and just say, I've got specialists around. Maybe they can need me or help me. That's why my best advice to all surgeons who go out in the community is endear yourself to the community so that if someone has a problem, no matter how big, how small, how stupid, they can be comfortable enough to ask you for help, because you probably should have asked ideally after the first time, maybe after the second time. You want to do that. The other advice I have for oral surgeons, if you're really wanting to become like an implant god, whatever that means, you really should know everything about implants.
Right.
Meaning, today I did a case where I removed number 29 on a patient, immediate implant, and it was just huge. Like the tooth was tilted. You're trying to get it dead center. And I know this GP, he loves CEREC, so I used a Nobel 5.0. I probably could have used a Nobel 5.5, but I didn't. Why? Because the GP likes to use CEREC, and CEREC doesn't have a part compatible with the wide platform Nobel. Right. No, you probably wouldn't know that. Most surgeons don't know that. But if I give the guy a wide platform implant, how is he going to restore it?
Right.
So you need to know what systems your restoring docs like. If they have a preference, they may love Straumann, they may love Nobel, they may not care. How are they restoring? Do they care? Do they not care? Things like that really make a difference and differentiate you from someone else. I can't tell you the number of times I get an x-ray from someone saying, hey, do you know what implant this is? How can I restore this? Broken screw, crown came off, patient gets sent to me. I removed the screw. I happened to use the system in the past, Neodent, that was the system. I had a healing abutment, and I happen to have an extra replicant coping. Give it to the GP. I'm the hero. I'm doing stuff the periodontist can't do, won't do, doesn't know how to do. So if you really want to be an implant god, you really need to know the ins and outs of restorative and surgical applications so that you can speak to your restoring doctors, and it's not a foreign language. And you should be able to speak so adeptly at it that they look to you like you're a prosthodontist at times. That's what sets you apart.
Right. No, that's the truth. No, you need to be able to do that. You don't only place Nobel. You speak for Nobel, but what other? Oh no, your recording stopped. Oh no.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hold on.
I hear you fine. You're going fine. It just says your recording
I know
stopped.
my wife called me up.
No,
yeah, it's okay.
shoot.
Don't worry about it. I hung up on her.
I wanted to ask you.
So
I wanted to ask
speaking.
You,
please.
Well, because I wanted to ask you, what other implant systems do you place? It's not only Nobel, is it?
No. So, titanium-wise, I place Nobel. I place Straumann. I place Keystone. When I do full arches, I'm usually using the Keystone system. I really like their lab. I really like their lab, the Nexus iOS system. The guys at Keystone, for the most part, all started off at Nobel. They were really high up in the executive chain. Most of them got fired because when they became an IPO, they were getting paid too much. So they all jumped to Keystone. So I have these personal relationships. But the laboratory component from All on X is amazing. We have really fantastic scan bodies. We can scan the patient right after surgery, send the file to the lab, get a file back from the lab, and 3D print their prosthesis in-house same day.
Wow.
And
that's incredible.
The nice thing about it is this is a lab which is, it's local here because it's in Irvine, but it's national and international. So the problem with All on X labs is the lab will be great, they'll do fantastic, and then they'll go out of business, or they're just too busy, or their tech is gone. Nexus now has enough employees and the ability to scale it where they're totally fine. Final prosthesis is great. Zirconia implants, I place Z Systems. It's a one-piece zirconia implant. I tend not to use the two-piece zirconia implants. I just don't find that they work well. There's too many parts.
Two-piece.
Pardon me?
So because the two-piece, really?
Zirconia is a strong material. It's stronger than titanium, but it's just brittle.
Oh, yeah.
It's like brittle. It's like glass. It's like a glass plate. And it derives its strength from girth and from mass. So if you have an abutment that you try to place into an implant, you're going to, screw it in? So you're going to screw a ceramic in a ceramic and hope that it doesn't fracture. That's not going to happen. Or you can try to cement one of those little nubbins in. But the problem with that is it's so narrow that it's probably going to fail and break. So for that reason, I really like the one-piece zirconia implant system. I won't use a two-piece, just personal preference. So those are the 4 implant systems that I use. I use an all zirconia and 3 titaniums, one particular for like all full arch cases, the other just for whatever. Zygomas, I still use Nobel for my zygoma implants.
Okay.
Just tried and true. It was what I trained on. I wish they would change their prosthetic connection, but like they don't listen to me, so whatever. It's okay. I'm in a really unique situation where I practice in Orange County, and most of the dental companies are headquartered here in Orange County. So it's a small community where people like come from one place, go to another. It's almost like Silicon Valley, where everyone's up in the Bay Area, where if you leave Google, you go to Apple, and just kind of like there's a lot of like just networking. And the dental companies are for the most part located here in Orange County. So I lecture and work with Waterlace, BioLace for their lasers, for Centrifuge Company, for my PRP, Sprint Ray for 3D printers. Again, everyone's here just kind of in Southern California. You just have these relationships because everyone's kind of bounced around, and I'm fairly easy to work with, and I'm local, so it makes it convenient.
Affordable, accessible, and affable.
There you go.
I'm going to remember that. No,
you should. You got that $1 million smile. Dr. Gallagher, you're on your way.
It's full of wine right now.
You know what? Whatever. As long as you smile, that's all that matters.
You got to smile. You
have to. Listen, we're oral surgeons. Like Ed Ellis said, I've never seen a poor oral surgeon. I've never seen an oral surgeon on welfare. We're all going to do fine. You just have to just be happy and live your life.
That's right.
It's a great profession. Great profession. I'm happy I did it. I don't know that I would do it forever. I'd probably want to transition to something else, not wine. We talked about that.
You're going to segue, but not wine. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
What about, what's your favorite meal to make, by the way? Your favorite dish? I wanted to ask that.
I really love using... What?
Before we get going.
Yeah, no worries. I really like, so I have this wood fire pizza oven that I just installed.
You have a wood fire pizza
oven that I bought from Italy, shipped from Italy, came over. They needed a crane to take it from the outside of the house to drop it. It was so heavy. The first crane was too small. The second crane was big, but not long enough. So they got it just over the air conditioned units, and these guys had to literally drag the base out. The base of the oven was 1,500 pounds. It was nuts. Oh, it was amazing. So I designed this system where we had a bunch of wooden planks, and they would pick it and slide it up. And they were all these Hispanic workers, and they were they said to me in Spanish, they were oh, like the pharaohs in the pyramids. And I was like, I am Egyptian. There you go. So we'll find a way to get it. So they took it. We built it. It was super cool. My favorite meal to make is wood fire bronzino. Bronzino in the wood fire oven. That I'll roast some eggplants. It used to be something like beef burgundy, beef bourguignon, or French onion soup or something like that. But for the most part, I'm mostly fish, chicken, veggies. It's California, you try to keep it light and healthy. Wood fire oven, flatbreads. All right. Sorry. I know it's dark and cold where you're at, but
it is pretty dark.
Flatbreads, anything in the wood fire oven, because it takes 40 minutes to get it going. At that time, you're listening to music. It's a communal experience. Everyone's out there helping out. Just a different cooking, a different vibe. Yeah. Well, next time you're out in California, you must come visit. We'll get the wood fire oven going.
I gotta come by.
Absolutely.
And we gotta try some wineries. What's your favorite winery, or that you may have or may not have been to in your area? It might be 2 or 3 years. Let's be realistic. It might be 2-3 years, but I can use the top wineries account. Use Surgical Gourmet. We put something together and we figure out. We get a big experience at a winery.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I have a few favorites up in Napa. There's a few places that are biodynamic, organic. So they do the whole thing. They bury the cow horns in the soil with the manure in the fall. They take them out in the spring. They mineralize it, spread them out for fertilizer. Maya Camus is super cool. Adamus is really nice. They're they have beehives that they purposely get going. No fertilizers, no sprays. Everything done super organic, biodynamic. Their oak that they age the woods in is over 100 years old. My cavus in particular, they never closed during Prohibition. They were so far up the mountain in Napa. These guys were bootleggers, and they had these like caves in like the mountains where they would store their wine in case the authorities ever came. They would just hide it. So it's super cool.
Wow.
Absolutely,
That's so
super cool.
cool.
You would love it. You would love it.
We got to do that. We got to go there. That's the one I want to go to.
You got it. You got it. You would love it.
We'll do that, man. All right. So I'm going to have to, I got to wrap it up. I got to get ready for tomorrow.
It is always a pleasure.
Late,
this was long overdue. See,
this was
absolutely my fault.
But
my fault.
So,
my fault for that one. Absolutely. I was going to say we should do it in person next to like the wood fire oven. Done.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh yeah. And then we'll collaborate some wines. We'll get a nice selection going. Dude, this is what I want to do. This is why I do the pot. I love it because now we finally touched base. Sure, I mean it's over. You know, a call like a virtual call, but we finally connected, and now we got to talk wines. We got to try some wines. We talked about so many different things, and now the next one we take a little bit further, and then one we'll finally get in person. You know what I mean? And then yeah, it's fun. I find this to be so exciting. And, you know, to exactly what you said before, social media has given us a new network, a new way of connecting with others that we didn't have before. And without social media, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. You know, this is something that I think that's awesome. Plus, in one way, it's a Monday night. Plus, it's like we're squeezing this in on a Monday night, you know? Like no one else is doing this.
Absolutely.
This is pretty cool.
I think so.
Dude, it's awesome.
No, it's great. I'm really a big fan of everything you've done, not just with the Top Winery account, but this in particular. You know, it's really nice to hear the personal side from the other oral surgeons out there. And, you know, your interviews have been really fantastic. And as much as I think I know a lot of these people, it's those inside stories that really give you an insight to, you know, their life and their journey, you know, and again, it really helps us connect. Because
the other day on Olmec's face,
absolutely.
I had no idea.
Absolutely.
And that's what sprouted the beginning of Olmec's face, his Instagram page.
Absolutely. You know,
and he was on 40-hour shift driving home, and he got a car at like.
These are the stories that very few people will relate to unless you're in OMFS. You know, I always say like you don't understand who we are, and it's not to be arrogant, but it's like you do a crazy surgical residency and you're pushed by motivation and your attendees' insecurity because they don't want to be looked at as dentists. You have to be like excellent, and you know the stories that come out of it. No one will understand unless you lived it.
Right? It's if you know, you know. It's an on the inside thing. And then there's another thing between the 4-year oral surgeons and the 6-year oral surgeons. They have the same experiences, but they have a different mentality in some aspect. There's so many levels to it. It's pretty crazy. It's such a fascinating. There's a science to it. You know, it's a different language than just dentistry alone.
Totally.
But yeah, man, this is good stuff.
This was great.
I wish we were recording up until the end, but it's all good.
We are recording now. We are recording now.
Oh, you are. It's recording. Okay,
yeah,
good.
We're at 12 minutes and change, but awesome. This was wonderful. Have an amazing evening. Say hi to VK and the crew.
I will.
Sounds good.
I'll see you tomorrow. Again.
I'll tell Dr. Carlos I say hi. Absolutely.
I will.
For sure.
I will.
Sounds good.
All right,
Take care, buddy.
We'll talk soon. And don't forget part 2. So start thinking of a lineup for 4 bottles.
Done.
That'll be a condition.
And you're not going to be a resident, so we can like spend a little bit more. Right?
Exactly.
Or you'll come to my house and we'll spend a lot, and it'll be fine.
Oh, that'll be fun. All right. Deal.
You know what? I have a feeling you may show up at my door sooner rather than later.
I hope so. I will. I got to get these boards out of the way.
Door is always open. Door is always open. You have an open invite anytime.
All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll touch base.
Sounds good.
Touch base.
You will.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy, hectic
week. I had a wonderful time. This was great.
It was good.
Awesome.
All right. Part 2 in the future.
Sounds good.
All right.
Well, bye.
All right. Good night.